Screen time itself is not the enemy here, but it's the disengagement that screen time can facilitate between your child and you, your child and others, your child and the world, that if not balanced properly can be a problem. But screen time that's paired with lots of attentive engagement, physical activity, cognitive stimulation, communication, and connection is nothing to fret about at all. Seriously. All right, hello everyone. Welcome back to the Carnahan fam. Today we are diving into quite the controversial topic, toddlers and screen time. Now, honestly, this vlog was actually in our content calendar for later in the summer, but I've been getting so many messages asking me, do we allow our toddlers to have screen time? Why or why not? What are our recommendations? That I thought we might as well just dig into it now. If being a parent during this pandemic wasn't hard enough already, now very commonly with the increased amount of screen time that families are seeing around the world because of the pandemic, it's all got us wondering, am I a bad mom for giving my toddler screen time? How much screen time is too much screen time? What's the best way to do screen time? Am I going to ruin my kids because I allowed them to watch a screen? Oh my gosh. First of all of these questions are laced with mom guilt. And trust me, I am no stranger to mom guilt. I mean, there's a lot at stake when you're talking about the development of your child's body and their brain, their socialization skills. All of these things come into play when we talk about screen time. But I want to make one thing very, very clear, and that is no, you are not a bad parent for allowing your toddler to have some screen time. Okay, so as someone who has a degree in early childhood and special education, my husband's in medical school, we have 2 young toddlers. We're gonna run through how we run it in our house and 8 things to consider when you are thinking about screen time. And all of them are equally important. So if you're serious about getting this screen time thing figured out, stick along for the whole video because like I said, each of the 8 things are equally as important as the other. All right, let's hop to it. First things first is you want to make screen time a controlled activity, which means you set clear expectations as to what your child can expect during screen time, and you need to communicate those expectations to your child clearly. Rather than just playing continuously, let them know beforehand what the plan exactly is for screen time and what it's going to look like when the time is up. The use of a visual timer can be a really, really helpful tool to help your toddler be able to make the transition out of screen time. It can also work really well to have a scheduled time for screen time. In our house, we prefer not to schedule in screen time daily, but our toddlers do know some predictable times when they are offered screen time. For example, every Wednesday, our younger toddler, Ainsley, has gym class, and our son stays home with dad, and he knows that that is his iPad time. So for example, on Monday, if he asks us if he can do iPad, we answer yes. On Wednesday, when Sissy's at gym, you can do your iPad. Screen time for many kids is also a very disconnected experience. So another way to really help your toddler make that transition out of screen time is a few minutes before screen time ends is to come into their world a little bit. Talk to them about what they're seeing, connect it with something in their reality. Another thing that's been really helpful in our house for ending screen time is giving the choice. Do you want to turn off the show or do you want me to do it? It's not a threat, it's just a choice. That way your child can take leadership in that independent choice that they made to turn off the show all by themselves or to allow you to do it. We've gotten to the point where with our 2.5-year-old, I can hand him the remote and say, it's time to turn off our show. Here's the remote so you can push the red button to turn it off. I'll be out in the kitchen when you're done. Clear expectations, communication, and follow through. And on that note, if you're looking for some more strategies to help build an independent toddler, check out the video above or in the description below because we've got oodles of ideas there for you as well. Next, we are going to make time for co-viewing. Now, co-viewing is exactly what it sounds like, watching something together. This is actually a great option for when you yourself need a break. As you're sitting side by side with your child, watching the program with them, you can verbalize the things that your child is seeing and help them process that information, taking out the guessing and the interpretation that they might be struggling through on their own. You can do self-talk for the characters, helping to verbalize what they might be thinking or what they might be feeling. You can even help your child to identify the feelings of the characters or make connections and parallels between what they're watching and their real world. Co-viewing can be a really strong way to productively talk through social situations. Just like when you're sharing a book or a new experience with your child, co-viewing is a great opportunity to talk with your children, expose them to new vocabulary and new experiences that they may not have been exposed to yet, making that screen time experience something that was valuable for them. This might sound horrible because we are YouTube content creators, but we do not allow unsupervised viewing on YouTube because the content is uploaded by the general public. The content can literally be anything. So if for some reason we're not co-viewing, we allow non-co-viewing on programs that we have already previously watched, already previously talked through, and that are on streaming services that are predictable. So sorry YouTube, for our kids, it's not gonna work. All right, another thing to consider is, especially at the toddler age, but even just young children in general, kids learn through play, not through screens. So yes, while they might pick up some numbers or letters or shapes or colors or songs or whatever while they're watching a show, which is memorization through repetition that's not based on understanding. Kids learn by touching and feeling and doing and participating and experiencing. All of these things are way more engaging than what they're ever going to experience on a screen. So while yes, they may get some sort of basic knowledge off a screen, screen time is not a substitute for an educational opportunity. That's one reason why I developed a full play-based preschool program, which if you're interested, you can look at on our website at thecarnahanfam.com, with everything from letters to numbers, colors, shapes, social skills, and more. These are the things that your child is going to learn through play. That brings us right to our next point, which is with the use of screens, you need to balance it with rich life experiences. When screen time starts to displace important activities for your child, that's when you risk negative consequences. Children need sufficient time sleeping without the distraction of screens in their room, to be physically active, to have real world social interactions, balancing rich language and play experiences with their screen time. The biggest key here is that you don't want screen time to replace social interactions, because that is where your child is going to be learning and developing the most. So in our house, screens are never used in the grocery store, in the waiting room in a doctor's office. So we're careful to not make screen time this really special and exciting and desirable activity. Rather, we present screen time just like any other activity. Sometimes it's a choice and sometimes it's not. It's not a reward or something special, it's just sometimes an option and sometimes it's not. Just like going to the park or going on a bike ride or painting or playing with Play-Doh. Sometimes it's one of our choices and sometimes it's not. But if you prioritize rich learning activities, you'll be stimulating so many places in your child's brain that a little screen time is not gonna do them any harm. Just remember, you don't want screen time to displace any of those other important activities. All right, and that leads us right into our next one, which is you interacting with your child is key. It is the best and most rewarding activity for your child's brain. The more you interact with your child, the more you're promoting neurological development, social development, cognitive development, language development, all things that are so much more satisfying to your kiddo's brain than the screen. So maximize the positive time that you spend with your child. We really consciously try to interact with our kids in such a way that it is so rewarding to their brain that they would rather be doing something with us than sitting on a screen. Screen time itself is not the enemy here, but it's the disengagement that screen time can facilitate between your child and you, your child and others, your child and the world, that if not balanced properly can be a problem. But screen time that's paired with lots of attentive engagement, physical activity, cognitive stimulation, communication, and connection is nothing to fret about at all. Seriously. No matter how attractive screens are, children crave social interaction, and more than that, social interaction from you, more than anything else. All right, speaking of you, it leads us right into our next one, which is you need to be setting a good example for proper screen usage yourself. We as adults need to be aware of our own patterns and behaviors when it comes to interacting with screens. Do we ignore the people around us when we have a screen out and only focus on that screen? If we do as parents, what do we expect our toddlers to learn from that? Are we sitting back on the couch endlessly scrolling social media, or sitting there playing a game on your phone while your child's trying to get your attention? Another one of the screen time things in our house is phones are not toys. Neither my husband nor I have games on our phone. We use them for communicating, working, and taking pictures. Lots and lots of pictures. Because think about it this way, if your child sees you prioritizing a game on your phone rather than a social interaction with them, what are they going to think is more important? So whenever possible, turn the TV off during meal times, put your phones away, look up and interact with one another, and set a healthy example for proper screen time for your kids. All right, let's move on. The next thing that we're gonna do is be selective about the things that you allow your child to watch, because not all screen time is created equal. You want to avoid passive zombie viewing whenever possible. High quality educational or interactive programs are going to be the best thing for your child when they are experiencing some screen time. But you also want to be critical about the content that is in the program that they're watching. How are the characters treating each other, treating their parents, talking about themselves? How do they express their feelings and work through those feelings? Your child is seeing it all, and they are soaking all of that in. All right, the last thing I want you to remember is that your child is an individual, and some kids have a greater desire to absorb screen time than others. Ainsley is now 18 months old, and as a mother of 2 toddlers who's also expecting, I have been trying to get this girl to take up some screen time for a long time. Literally trying to get her to watch something, but she just has no interest whatsoever. Whereas Christian, on the other hand, I remember him being 9 months old, sitting on my bed watching Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, dancing to the hot dog song, you know? And he is my eager beaver when it comes to showtime. So remember that every kid is different. And that's why I don't think that those general recommendations of no screen time under the age of 2 and only up to an hour from the ages of 2 to 5 or whatever can be that generalized over kids. You need to evaluate your own child and see how much time works for them, what programs work for them, and what style works for them. And if something's not working, recognize when you need a change and be okay with that. So just remember, your child's an individual, your family looks different, and honestly, the stimulation that your child is getting outside of screen time, it's going to look different than the rest of the kids that this generalization is supposed to be able to cover. How much screen time is too much screen time? That's going to look different for your child, for your family, and really on any given day. So you're the expert on your own child. Make that call and don't compare it to what other moms are doing. All right, we did it. We talked about screen time. I'm not gonna lie. I am not ashamed. Screen time has a place in our house, and so do walks, and so does the trampoline, and so does cookies, and so does painting, and so do tickle fights, and bedtime stories, and dance parties, and everything in between. So cut yourself some slack, find a balance that works for your family as humanly as possible, and know that you're doing a great job. Seriously, you are doing a great job. Woo! All right, thanks for joining us today. I hope that wasn't too heavy, but we'd love to hear in the comments below what works for your family for screen time. And remember that there are so many variations of what is perfectly fine for your children. But that's all today. We'll see you again next time. Bye.